Hello everyone, my name is Abhishek and I am a solutions architect, cloud enthusiast and an AWS practitioner. Today I am demonstrating quick hands-on that I did on AWS Glue. I will show how I created data catalog for the CSV files stored in S3. I created crawler service to read CSV files. Then I built ETL jobs in AWS Glue. And finally, I created two triggers for calling the ETL jobs automatically. This is not a demo of step-by-step actions that I take on AWS console. I'm explaining what I have done already. Let's get started. This is the architecture of the demo. In this diagram, data catalog, crawler, ETL jobs, and the triggers, they all are the components of the AWS Glue service. Data catalog stores the metadata of any data which is stored in these S3 buckets. It maintains the location, schema, table definition, etc. It also remembers the partition to make the queries faster and more efficient. Crawler is the service which goes to the data store and reads all the data and pushes the metadata to the data catalog. ETL jobs can fetch data from one data store, perform transformations, and load the data into another data store. I'm keeping both source and target data store same for the purpose of this demo. Triggers are triggers, which can start a job. Triggers can be scheduled or manually triggered, or they can be triggered by the state of another ETL job. For example, if ETL job 1 fails, trigger the ETL job 2. Or if the ETL job 3 succeeds, trigger the ETL job 4. For this demo, I am using two triggers and two ETL jobs. To begin with, I need some data in the data store where crawler can go and read. So let's start with data store S3. In the AWS console, I go to the S3 bucket. I create a folder called Abhishek Glue Demo, and inside that I add a folder called Demo Data. I will explain these other folders that I have created later. Inside Demo Data, I have created custDB, customer CSV, data load, and there I have uploaded a CSV file consisting of my customer data. Now let's go to the data catalog. I go to the AWS console, then to AWS Glue and go to data catalog. There was no database there as I was doing this first time in this region. So I create a database, give it a name and enter the URI of the custDB folder in this location. Now I need to create a table in this database. That table will hold metadata values for the data in S3. I will create a crawler for this. I will mention which data the crawler needs to crawl and the crawler will create that table when I run it. But before that, let's create an IAM role because that will be required during creation of the crawler. So I go to the IAM section in the console, create a new role, give it a name and assign two policies to it, S3 full access and Glue service role. Save it. Now I will go to the crawlers. I go to the AWS console, AWS Glue dashboard, and then to crawlers and create a new crawler. I could have done this by going to the databases and click on a button which says create table using crawler also, but that would also bring me to the same page. Now I create a crawler, give it a name, give it a data source, set the target database for creating a table, and most importantly, assign a role to this crawler. This is the same role that I created in previous slides. When I run this crawler, it will create a table inside the database of the data catalog. Now I go to the AWS Glue dashboard, databases and tables, and I can see customer underscore CSV table has been created by the crawler. Once the table is created, if I run the crawler again, it will only update this table and not create a new one. I can click on this table and see what it holds. It shows me the location of the data in S3, the type of file which is CSV, and the schema of data of that CSV file. I can use another service which is not part of Glue for fetching the data from the S3 using this metadata that I created in data catalog. That service is Athena. It has SQL query editor. I can go to AWS Athena, select the data source, database and the table and run the query. Notice that the database is the metadata. The result of the query is not the data stored inside the customer underscore CSV table in the data catalog database. The Athena service is reading the location of the CSV from catalog and going to the S3 and fetching that data. Let's go and build an ETL job, which is on number 4 in my architectural diagram. For this, I need to go to the AWS Glue dashboard, go to the ETL jobs and create a new job. I go to the visual tab of the editor, go to the source section, give it a name and select the source S3 URL for this job. I click on browse and select the customer_CSV folder as a source. Then I go to the transformation section. I'm not making any changes here. This is for the data engineers. Based on the requirement and the design of the system, we can either drop some of the columns, change data type, or rename the status, or rename the columns. Then I go to the target data source and set S3 as a target. I again browse and select customer_parakeet folder as a target for the transform data. In the beginning, I showed that I created some extra folders in this demo data custdb folders. Those folders are for these purposes. Then I go to the job detail tab on the editor and give name to this job. And most importantly, I assign an IAM role. I can use the same role that I created for this demo because it has the policy attached which allows S3 access. Then I save this job and hit run. If this job is successful, it will show in the run tab. And according to my logic, if it is successful, it should have created a parakeet file in S3 target location. Let's go and check that. So I go to S3, demo data, custdb, customer parakeet and see there is a file generated by the result of this job. There are many files in this because I ran this job many times. Actually, as per the logic I wrote, one run of this job should generate one file. Now, this is the last segment where I will create two triggers and one more ETL job and connect all of them in a daisy chain so that when I kick off first trigger, it starts the job 1, then completion of job 1 sets off trigger 2, which will start the job 2. The daisy chain of triggers and jobs look like this. I will create on-demand trigger. Job 1 is already there, so I will create a trigger for job 2 and also I need to create job 2. For the sake of simplicity of the demo, job 2 will be similar to job 1. It just transforms the data in JSON format instead of parakeet. So I go to the AWS Glue dashboard, I go to triggers and I create on-demand trigger. This is manual trigger, so it does not have any conditions to set it off, but it surely has a target. Its target is a job and the job is cust CSV to parakeet transformation. Before creating second trigger, I need to create a second job because my second trigger needs a target during the configuration. So I go to jobs, create a job. In the visuals, I keep the source and transformation same as job 1. But in the target section, I change the format of the transform data to JSON and set the target data folder as customer_JSON in the S3. I created this folder in the beginning. I make sure to go to the job details tab and assign the correct role to this job also. Then I create a second trigger, give it a name, and this is not a manual trigger, so it has a condition to watch out for. It watches a job, which is CSV to parakeet transformation, our job 1, and wait for it to be successful. Once the job 1 is successful, this trigger performs its action, which is to trigger another job, and that is our job 2, which I created just now. So now my two triggers and two jobs are connected in a chain. If I set off my first trigger, it should result in running both the jobs, one after the other. And finally, I should be able to see one parakeet file and one JSON file. Let's see. So here it is. You can see parakeet file is saved in the target folder at 162826 and the JSON file was created and saved in the target folder at 162944. Within 45 seconds, both the jobs were ran without manual intervention just by using triggers. This brings an end to this demo. Thanks for watching. Please visit my LinkedIn profile. The link is in the description and message me if you want to connect with me. Goodbye and see you all in the next video.